The ethos behind Here and There was community, local community, marginalized voices, bringing people together. And it was really fun and it was really successful.
That's Katie Nowak, VP of Marketing and Partnerships at the TBA Agency. From concept to execution, she helped turn the Here and There Festival into a community-driven, cross-country event that brought local artists, queer voices, brands, and fans together with a purpose.
Different brands look for different things at different times. With the partners that we've worked with and the partners that we strive to work with, our pitch most of the time is these artists are successful in a different way.
From working with artists, audiences, and brands, Katie breaks down how partnerships really get made and how it connects in today's music landscape.
The best advice is that being nice and being yourself is going to yield the best result. This industry can be very volatile, and I think I've always spoken my mind and I've always been very much myself, and that's worked out really well for me.
Today, Katie shares what it really takes to build relationships, navigate the industry, and stay grounded in a business that can feel unpredictable. By the end of this conversation, you'll learn how authentic strategy, community building, and the right partnerships shape the careers happening behind the music. Stick around. I'm Bobby Owsinski, and this is the Inner Circle Podcast. I know you're a big proponent of this festival, and I want to know more about it. Here and There.
Oh, yeah. So Here and There is the brainchild of our client, Courtney Barnett. In 2022, she came up with the concept, and essentially the idea was for it to be sort of a traveling festival. I want to say it was about 15 or 16 dates across North America. And the idea was that each date would have 4 or 5 different artists on the bill, in certain situations local to the place that we were. So, for example, in Portland, they had Sleater Kinney and Fred Armisen. And so, tried to kind of make it specific to each location as much as possible, but also kind of highlighting queer artists, female artists, and really kind of pushing the idea of community generally. So like the ethos behind Here and There was community, local community, marginalized voices, bringing people together. And it was really fun and it was really successful. And, we did that in partnership with AEG Presents Global Touring. And my role specifically, I oversaw all of the marketing for the festival and the tour itself, but also worked on bringing in partnerships for Here and There Festival that kind of spoke to the ethos of it. So, for example, we did a partnership with Levi's in which they created custom denim jackets for all of the artists that participated in the festival. We partnered with the Ally Coalition, which is an LGBTQ youth organization, and did workshops in certain markets at local Levi's tailor shops. So we had fans come. It was centered around Pride and LGBTQ youth. And so basically the fans got to come and we had custom patches made and they got to design jackets and do an interview with Courtney and take photos. So that was something that really cool about that we did. And then we also partnered with Microsoft. And that was a really fun one because we used their what is now even more sophisticated, but at the time new and very sophisticated AI technology. Courtney herself is an illustrator. She's a visual artist. And so we uploaded all of her drawings into their suite of AI tools. And we gave fans a questionnaire of like, what's your favorite place to go in your city? What do you love about your city? Kind of things that are specific to the local communities that they all were in. The tool that we used spat out images in the style of Courtney that were specific to those locations. And then we put them on the screens at the shows. It tied it all together, and it was just a love letter to each individual city and community that we were going to.
Okay, well, tell me about Artifacts Lab, because that sounds like a very interesting collaboration.
Yeah. So, given our great relationship with Microsoft, having worked with them, with Courtney, the brand team at TBA really wanted to work with them again. And our artists are very artistic. They have a lot of different interests outside of just making music. And so I think, for example, the artists that we worked with specifically for Artifacts Lab were Yeji, who is a Korean DJ, an artist, Kuko, who is a Mexican-American artist that we work with, and then Blade, who is a more electronic artist. And so essentially, we went to them and said, we want to do something that highlights 3 artists pair them with 3 visual artists, and then with a creative technologist. And those teams can work together to kind of make something using this Microsoft's AI tools that showcase what they can do and kind of rewrite the story about AI. A lot of people AI is very scary. A lot of people are very scared of AI. And I think this was a way to show that humans using AI can still make something creative with human hands. It's simply a tool to enhance the thing that they're making. So, for example, we partnered Yeji with Andrew Thomas Huang, who is a director, and they made a really cool music video that they then used for her single that was coming out later in the coming months. With Kuko, we partnered with Paul Trillo and made tour visuals that he then used on tour and will probably continue to use it in some capacity. And then with Blade, they made a sort of video game, almost like a chat bot video game that fans could go on online that is going to be shown at an art exhibit here in New York City and was part of Rhizome, which is the new museum's digital art arm earlier this year. It was a very artistic project. It took a really long time, but everybody was so collaborative and worked really hard to make the best thing that they could make. And all 3 projects came out beautifully and actually were very successful in their own individual way.
You don't think of Microsoft in that manner.
No, you don't, right? I mean, I think it's interesting because anybody would think about Microsoft and think they make computers and, they have Microsoft Outlook and that's what I use for my email. But no, the partnership team over there is very, very creative and also very open to any and all ideas. Like the 2 partnerships that we did with them, we came up with the ideas and brought it to Microsoft. And we're essentially like, here's what we want to do. Are you down with this? And they were very open and excited about it. So it's really nice when you have a partnership like that, where they trust your creative mind and your creative ideas and are willing to kind of go the distance with you to make those ideas real.
I know that you're in charge of brand deals. I'm just curious, what are brands looking for? When you go to them, what are the benefits that you're pitching?
It's interesting because different brands look for different things at different times, right? There's certainly brands who are really wanting Beyonce, right? They're wanting the biggest artist they can find for their Super Bowl ad that they're going to be running in February. I think with the partners that we've worked with and the partners that we strive to work with, our pitch most of the time is these artists are successful in a different way. Their audiences are so engaged and locked in. I don't love this word because I think it's overused, but they are niche. They are niche artists that don't necessarily fit into the full mainstream in the way a Taylor Swift might, or, somebody who's at that stadium level. But these are artists who have a very specific audience and a very specific demographic that you might not have thought of before. They bring a certain edginess to them that is going to simply speak to a different group of people. It's not going to be this kind of mass media campaign that you're used to. It's going to be a little bit more creative and it's going to have a little bit more edge and it's going to make the brand feel cool. I think brands want to feel cool, especially now in the world that we live in. Brands are becoming less cool to young people. They don't really want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told what to buy. They kind of see through this now with the rise of influencer culture and there's ads everywhere. And I think that what brands are looking for, at least from us, is a little bit of authenticity and realness that comes with the artists that we work with, who are not necessarily always going to be like, I love Coca-Cola, you should buy it, Yeah. They're going to want to lend their creativity to what they're doing. And so I think that's kind of the pitch that we bring to brands, is we can make you feel cool.
You also are in charge of booking private and corporate events. Is that for outside clients or is that just for TBA?
It's just for TBA.
Okay.
So, with that, we do work with a lot of brands. We have a great relationship with Spotify, for example. So it's kind of that side of things that a brand is looking to do some sort of private event, whether it's an employee event or it's for their influencers and VIPs, or it's my dad's 70th birthday and we want to book this band. Are they available? It's kind of runs the gamut of all of those things, which we love all of them. There's no event we won't entertain. But yeah, that's where I sit in that space.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever boosted or cut with EQ but still couldn't get the sound you wanted? That's why I designed the Magic Frequencies cheat sheet to guide you step by step through the EQ frequencies to make your mixes shine with professional clarity. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the show notes for your free copy. Now, back to the episode. Let's talk about your background, because I'm curious how you got into the role that you're in now. And it was a journey for you. It started at MTSU, right?
I went to high school at a performing arts high school. I grew up doing musical theater and performing and went to kind of a school that had a conservatory in it. So instead of taking phys ed and an extra math, I took acting and singing and dance and that kind of stuff. So I was always very interested at a very young age from doing performing arts and being involved in the performing arts. When I graduated high school, I could have gone two different ways. I could have been a theater major, or I could have done what I did. And I didn't really want to spend my life auditioning. It didn't sound like something that was fun, really. And so I decided to go the business route. And so a friend of mine that I went to high school with, who was a year ahead of me, went to MTSU and told me about it. I grew up in New Jersey, so I had never been to the South before ever. And I said, I don't know about that, but we'll check it out. So my dad and I drove 14 hours to Tennessee, and I ended up loving it. And I went there for 4 years and I studied music business. And part of that program is, internships. Your entire senior year, you're just doing a bunch of internships. So I interned at a label. I interned for a publicist. I interned at AEG. I interned publishing company. And the one I really had the most fun with was AEG, because I got to go to shows for free. And that was really fun.
Yeah, right.
And so when I graduated, I was like, I think that I want to be in the live side. I really love going to concerts. I love this energy. And Lenore Kinder, who was my boss at the time, she's now an agent at Wasserman. She helped me get a job at CAA. And I worked in the tour marketing department. I was an assistant. I came in as an assistant. I worked there for about 3.5 years. While I was there, I got promoted. And so I was a very, very young tour marketing executive. And, I had lived in Nashville at that point for almost 10 years and was kind of ready to do something else. And so I took a job at the Windish Agency, which is now part of Wasserman. And I moved to New York almost 10 years ago. In 1 month, it will be 10 years ago. And so I worked at the Windish Agency. I was the director of tour marketing. Windish got bought by Paradigm. We got absorbed into Paradigm, so was at Paradigm for a while. And then I left. I was kind of feeling burnt out with tour marketing. I had been doing it for a really long time and I kind of wanted to try something else. And so I left Paradigm and I moved to LA, and I worked as the head of marketing at Saddle Creek Records, which is a very, very small record label. That was a very interesting experience. What it taught me is that LA is not for me. I'm an East Coast girl through and through. And so I was really only in LA for about 8 months. But in that time, I met Rich Holtzman, who is the SVP of marketing at AEG Global Touring. And I ended up taking a job with them. And I actually ended up moving back to Nashville. Again, I went back to touring and worked with AEG Global Touring until COVID. Really, COVID was so interesting because our work stopped. Not that we had nothing to do, but we didn't have as much to do because we basically had to just cancel a bunch of things. At the time, it was July 2020. Being in Nashville during COVID was hard. And so I went back to my parents' house. I went back to New Jersey and was like, I'm just going to wait it out and see, I'll just do the summer here. I'll go to the beach. I'll swim in my parents' pool and see what happens. And in that time, I got a phone call that there was this new agency that was coming up and they were wanting somebody who would run the marketing department. Do you know anybody who's interested? And I was like, I'm interested. That sounds awesome. These are people that I already knew. I worked with them all at Paradigm. I wasn't walking into a room full of strangers. I was walking into a room full of former colleagues. And so, had a couple conversations, and then TBA, that happened. I moved over to TBA and the rest is history. I've been there for 5 years, and I can say unequivocally, it's the best job I've ever had. I have done pretty much the same job my entire career, give or take the 8 months that I was in LA. And, being at TBA and being a part of something, building it, helping build it from the ground up and growing it into, the best thing it can be, has also allowed me to grow into the best version of myself that I can be, because I'm growing into roles that I probably would never have gotten the opportunity to grow into had I been at a bigger company or, been somewhere else. And so it's really been like the best learning experience because we're all learning as we go. We're all figuring it out together. It doesn't feel like you're sitting on an island. It feels like you're just surrounded by people who are all moving towards the same goal, which is great.
Where did you grow up in New Jersey?
I grew up in a very small town called Howell. It is near Freehold.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah?
Well, I lived in Asbury Park. I lived in Manasquan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Monmouth County, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up going to Manasquan. That was our beach.
Yeah, it's a great place. I still love it.
It's a great place. I was just there over Labor Day weekend.
Oh, lucky you.
And, when I was growing up, Asbury wasn't a place that we really went. But now, it's amazing and everybody and love it. My parents are thinking about maybe moving to Asbury and getting a condo. I'm like, please.
yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah, but my mother grew up in Red Bank, and so we spent a lot of time at the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. I love the Jersey Shore. I lived all over New Jersey. I'm actually from Pennsylvania. When I was playing in bands and clubs and stuff like that, we played so much in Jersey that I moved there.
Oh.
I just loved it. It was great. And then eventually made it to California, which is a different story.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's still a place that holds a place in my heart, I have to say. What don't people know about you that you wish they did?
Wow, that's such a good question. What do people not see? Here's the thing. There's not that much people don't know about me. I'm a pretty open book, but I think maybe this is a weird way of giving this answer. I mean, I think if we're talking about career stuff, I would say that because I was in tour marketing for so long, I think people hear my name and they connect me to that, right? They connect me to that job that I had done for so long, which is not incorrect necessarily. But I think something I'm working towards and want to kind of start broadcasting a bit more, and maybe this is the place to do that.
Yeah, good start. Yeah, right.
Is what I've been doing for the last 2-ish, 3 years is more strategy and thinking about partnerships, both for our artists, but also for TBA. Like a big part of my job is brand strategy for the agency and thinking about how we communicate about TBA to people. And so, not that I don't want people to associate me necessarily with marketing because that is part of my job, but I also think, I want to be able to communicate to people that I've been doing a lot more than that since in my time at TBA, and that I've kind of grown, not out of it, but my career has evolved a bit. And so I think that's something that I think maybe people don't really know. When I speak to people that I haven't seen, and I was just at AIBA this past week. Wow, feels like that was last week. And it was like, oh, what tours are you working on? And I wanted to be like, I'm not really working on them. My team is working on them. Yeah. But it's just easy for people to click into what they knew about you. And so I think that's something that people don't really know that I think I would like them to know. I mean, on a personal level, I think I'm really good at karaoke. Invite me to your parties. I feel like I have a very solid reputation in the industry through our partners and the people that I've worked with for a long time. So there's not really anything I think I'm dying for people to know about me. But in terms of work, I think something that I am trying to kind of get across.
Yeah, it's funny. You get pigeonholed after a while if you work in the same gig for a long time. And that's what people tend to think when they hear your name.
Yeah.
It takes a while to break out of that, but
it does. And it's okay too, I don't mind it. There's more to Katie than just the tour marketing side of things. Yeah.
You do the PR and social media for the company as well, don't you?
Yes, I work with Grace, our lovely publicist, and so I help kind of coordinate, what conferences people will go to, what panels they might speak on, any press looks that we want, whether it's like agents and partners. Amy Davidman and Devin Landau just got listed on the Billboard Latin Power Players list yesterday. So things like that, who are we going to pitch for certain things and what does that look like? And yes, I also manage all of the social media for the agency. So I work with my team, every week we come up with what we're going to post that week and get materials together. And it's a thing that's certainly planned out. But then, something like yesterday when the Billboard Latin Power Players list comes out and we didn't know it was coming that day, we got to whip something up and throw it out really quick. So, it's a lot of, again, strategy and just thinking about what we want to communicate, how we want to communicate it, and how we want to talk about TBA.
I think what most people don't understand about social media and PR is the amount of strategy that does go into it. They think of the operational part of it. And yes, that's big, but it's really thinking about how this is going to affect people and how it's going to reach, your target. So there's a lot of thought that goes behind this. I don't think people would realize.
Absolutely. It's the thing too where it's a lot of trial and error, right? Like we try a lot of different things. What if we did an artist spotlight every month and we took an artist from the roster and we did a spotlight on them? And this is just an example, but like there's certain things that just don't get a lot of engagement. If I'm looking at kind of the metrics of like how our social media does, the things that do best are when we announce new signings or when we have a big press look or when we post about our artists that were at Coachella. Like those things get a lot of likes and comments and engagement. And there's certain things that you would think would that don't. And so you kind of have to just always be moving things around, thinking about them differently, asking your peers, like your colleagues, what do you think we should be posting? I don't have all the answers. What do you guys think is cool? What do you guys want to see? And really being proactive about putting those things together so that you're not on the back foot. You're constantly turning out new and exciting things for your followers.
The agency I work with wants walk and talks.
Interesting.
So basically, walking down the street with your phone and talking to it, but off at a 45-degree angle, not in front of you. And I was really resistant for a while. And sure enough, it scored bigger than anything I ever thought. And they keep on saying that this is what's hot right now, walk and talks.
And you mean like you're interviewing someone walking and talking?
No, I'm talking about a particular subject.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're short, a minute or, 2 at the most.
I mean, I live in New York City, right?
Yeah.
We are about to elect a new mayor in a month. And the current Democratic candidate, Zohran Mamdani, his social media is so good. So much of what he does is exactly what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's him walking and talking about platform or a problem or something. And it gets so much engagement. You wonder, like, what is it about that? But you know what I think it is? I think it feels real.
Yeah, it's authentic. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It feels real. You're not sitting in front of a desk, like talking about a problem or talking about something. You're engaging with the community around you and talking about something that's important to you, which I think people really respond to.
I know someone that I follow lives sort of in a rural area, and he goes out into the forest and just on a hike, he's talking. And it seems like he does the same one every day or every time he does this. And it doesn't matter. It just seems, again, it's real. So
yeah.
Whatever works, right? Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of which, how does AI impact what you're doing? Or does it?
It hasn't in a real way yet necessarily, but I do think that there will, I'm speculating, of course, but there might come a time, you see it with tech companies, you see it with different sectors, but that marketing generally is being replaced with AI, that ChatGPT can whip up a marketing plan with, a couple questions and a company can implement that. I don't necessarily think that is something that the music industry will see. I hope not, knock on wood. I think that the music industry is too personal and too one-on-one human being talk to do that. I think something that I've heard other people talk about is AI music and artists, being tagged on Spotify on songs that are not on because the AI probably used a song of theirs in their algorithm to create the music that it tagged as an artist on their song. That to me is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But I think with anything else, it's I don't want someone using ChatGPT to bring me a marketing plan. I don't want someone using AI to create a brand campaign video. Again, if we're talking about authenticity and realness as the thing that people are dying for, the more that we can use that and just use human beings and allow authenticity and creativity and human connection to shine, the more successful those things will be. Now, does that mean that my wish will come true? Maybe not. Maybe people will be using ChatGPT to give me a marketing plan. And that's something we're going to have to adapt to. But right now, in this current moment, it's not really something that we are having to deal with yet.
You're not experiencing work slop then, right?
We are not experiencing work slop at the moment. No, luckily, thankfully.
Yeah. It's funny. I got a thing in an email the other day, inbox, to attend a webinar on vibe marketing. So you've heard of vibe coding. Vibe coding is basically using AI to do the coding for you, so you don't have to know anything. And this was the same thing with marketing. It was all about how to do it. If, again, little or nothing about marketing. Well,
Yeah.
here's how to get smart on it, which, as you say, I would be very hesitant on using something like that. Especially I have a lot of experience using AI, and I have to say, sometimes the answers that you get are just so off the wall. You go, wait, why would somebody use this? This is like using a calculator that's wrong, every 5%, of the
Yes.
time.
That's the thing. It's not accurate
Yeah.
because it's pulling from the internet, which is often wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of garbage on the internet. I have friends who work at tech and whatever, and that, they're telling me that in job interviews, these companies are asking them, how would you use AI in your work? Like, we want you to, how would you use it? Or like, what can you do that AI can't do? Like, why should we hire you and not just use AI?
That's a good question right there.
That scares me more than anything because I'm like, I can't imagine myself going to my team and being like, how are you going to use AI to do this, to like talk about this tour that you're going to work on? Or like, I want them to use their brains. I want people to be thinking because this job does require critical thinking. It requires asking a lot of questions and coming up with alternatives and thinking about things in a very nuanced way because no artist is the same. No plan is the same. No manager is the same. You have to be really good at thinking about things from somebody else's perspective. And AI is not going to do that for you. It's going to spit out something that it thinks you want. Even if what you want is not the best idea, it's going to validate you and tell you that it is. I just can't imagine a world in which we would be like, hey.
Yeah, again, authenticity seems to work really well. And, when it comes to music, I'm thinking that sooner or later, artists are going to produce music with mistakes left in it because that will prove they're authentic.
I mean, you look at this AI actress that they just...
Oh, Tilly, right.
Tilly.
Yeah.
And, there might be some people who don't care, right? Like there might be people who are passive Netflix watchers who are just like, oh, I don't know who this is. I don't care, But when you're talking about art and you're talking about that, an actor having to act with a machine or with something that's not real, it's like, how do you expect to get the most real performance if half of what you're doing is not real? I'm sure that this is a thing that's it's not going away. So, we are going to have to figure it out. But yeah, it freaks me out.
Last question, Katie. What's the best piece of advice maybe somebody imparted to you, or maybe you just learned along the way?
Honestly, the best advice that I've learned along the way is that being nice and being yourself is going to yield the best results. I think a lot of times, this industry can be very volatile, especially as a woman. I think you have to be a certain way in order to be accepted or in order to move up in the world or in order to be respected. And I'm a person who wholeheartedly rejects that. I cannot be myself. And so that can be scary and intimidating at times because you're like, I don't know if these people are going to like me and I don't know if what I'm doing is good or if I should be quieter or if I should not talk. And I've never done that. I've always kind of spoken my mind and I've always been very much myself and that's worked out really well for me. And so I think it's not everybody's cup of tea, I'm sure, but has allowed me to work with the people I want to work with and with the artists I want to work with and feel accepted in a group of people who like me for me. And so I think the best advice I've always been given my entire life is just be you, be yourself. You don't have to be anyone else to be successful and do what you want to do.
I love that. Thanks for listening and being in my inner circle. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them to questions@bobbyowsinski.com. You can also learn all about the latest in music, audio, and production news, and find out about openings for my latest online classes at bobbyowsinski.com. This is Bobby Owsinski. I will see you next time